meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, welcome back to Upfront with Jane. Today I'm joined by Adam Faulkner, who is the founder and MD at Creative AF, which is a creative agency that tells story through video and sound. They have a team of videographers and musicians that produce some amazing work for fantastic brands. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Adam. Good morning, Adam. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, Jane. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. So are you recording from Manchester today?
A very changeable weather, Manchester. It was raining cats and dogs about 5 minutes ago. I think the sun might come. I mean, you know how it is. It's the most unpredictable.
I'm in Manchester tomorrow at the Stodge event. I don't know if you're going along, but I was looking at the weather thinking, well, it's awful in Chester and it's normally a little bit worse in Manchester. You never know. We shall pray.
I'm not going to the event, but if you want my advice, don't look at the weather forecast because it is almost completely unpredictable.
Okay.
You know, the weather over here. So yeah, very inclement.
Okay. Always bring an umbrella.
Yeah, generally, always bring an umbrella and your sunglasses as well. So
just in case.
It's a weird mix, but it kind of works.
Yeah, 4 seasons in one day and all the rest of it. So tell me a bit more about yourself. How did you get into video production? What led you to where you are?
Well, the longer answer is I've always worked in media ever since I left university. I used to be a newspaper journalist down in London for some of the national newspapers. Then I kind of decided I love documentaries. I was like, I want to film some things. Not much of that happens in newspapers, unfortunately. So I became a TV producer, again in London, working at different production companies and making programs, coming up with TV programs for the kind of big channels, the terrestrial channels down in London. Then I kind of needed a bit of a change, and this is, even though it's got nothing to do with work, it kind of did push me towards this company, which is I left London on a bicycle and cycled to Japan, basically, and I did that for about. As you do. I don't want to gloss over it, but I don't want to just talk about that because it's quite a big story. So I did that, but then whilst I was away with one of my best friends, we were making music with people we met along the way, and I was filming a lot of it, and it kind of made me think I'm filming stuff and I'm soundtracking it as well, all bespoke, as in I'm doing it with my friend, and it was funny, really. It took, after about 6-7 months of being back from that, I decided I wanted to start my own company, and funnily enough, that is kind of what it ends up being, a production company that not only films and makes things for the visual side of things, but then also makes sound design, music, all that, and it's all done under one roof, and there's not many companies out there that do that. People understand that sound is powerful and it's memorable and emotional, but I think we're very focused on the visual, and that is the reason I started the company Creative AF in not the best timing. It was March the 14th 2020, so it was very excited. I was like, things are coming, this is going to be great, I've got a great idea. And then obviously, we all know what happened in, the end of March 2020. And then everyone's lives were very, very different for a while. It doesn't feel like that now, obviously, which is great. Mm-hmm. But that was when it began. So for the first bit of time, all I knew was COVID. So
yeah,
it was a weird experience, because I know a lot of people started businesses during the lockdowns or COVID. People rethought their lives or what they wanted to do, but when you work in something where you need people, as in it depends. People would say, oh, maybe you don't, but when you film things, generally you need people, or you need to be around people, or you need, if you want to come up with some creative where it's out in the world, unless you're just making creative which is based at home. That is what I did.
Very difficult, because actually that wasn't as if you were in a situation where COVID happened and you thought, okay, this has forced me now to start my business. It sounds like you had everything lined up. That was your timing, and then a bit of a change of plan. Positive is only ways up from there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I had a plan, and I didn't have to, I had to change it in terms of in line with the restrictions, but I was very lucky because I actually lived with a mixologist. Now, firstly, that's brilliant for the, for the the more social element of that, and he still does make the best cocktails I've ever tasted in my life. So that was brilliant. From firstly for that, but then we decided that we, for something to do, I should film him making cocktails, just as as you do. So we built a bar in the garden out of recycled wood that we found in the local area, and then I started filming him making cocktails. Anyway, fast forward a little bit of time, and it led to us working with Sipsmith Gin, and that was the first client that we got. So, my partner even got me like a framed print of Sipsmith's here somewhere. Anyway, it's on the wall. Trust me, it's on the wall. But I mean, that was when that happened. You start going, okay, right. This is what can be done at home. The first paid client is a well-known brand, and so
exactly what's going to happen when the shackles are taken off. How exciting!
Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt. But I mean, I'm obviously very grateful for that time. I mean, it wasn't given to me on a plate. You had to be creative within the restrictions, and it worked out. And I think from there, that was I used that bar as a symbol, of like how it began. It's still there, it's still in the garden. It still exists. It's had over 2 years of a real, lashing from the Manchester weather. It's still there. It still exists. And even 2 weeks ago, the same on the very same bar, me and William, the mixologist, one of my best friends, we actually filmed another video for Sipsmith.
Brilliant.
So, it's still being used. It's still being used, and it's a symbol of, I don't know, it's a symbol of that time and the very beginning of the business. So yeah, I'm glad it's still being used.
And I think that sort of signifies, in a way, businesses that did well through lockdown. I think some businesses thought, well, the world sort of shut down. Perhaps it's not appropriate to be posted on social media, but actually the ones who did get creative and did showcase what they could do with limited resource in some cases are the ones that were winning, and the ones who people were spending more time on social media. There's less other things to do. So great example of how you've used your time wisely and managed to get drinking in there as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think, what was really interesting about that time, apart from the actual wider context of the time, was like, when you looked at social media, you could only really, or ads as well, you could only really post or show things that were within the zeitgeist of the time. So no point showing, I don't know, adverts of like people, being really free, on holiday or out at out in a bar, or because it just
so wrong. Yeah,
it just felt wrong. And even if they'd filmed it before, which they will have done, it still made you just think, I don't, so a lot of the content that people were producing had to be at home. It had to be done in a certain way, because if it wasn't, there was a bad taste. And as I said, even though it wasn't made in that time, it still just didn't feel right. So it's hard to remember it now, but if you actually remember, it was very
odd.
It was odd, wasn't it? So really, like, everything that we were doing, because I mean, we worked with Sipsmith, but we did other drinks brands. I was filming stuff in the house, like doing basically anything I could, just using that location. Ended up working with a lot of different brands, not just Sipsmith and the drinks stuff, but like some food stuff. I was like, right, what else can I do?
I mean, they're looking for new ideas. This is new to the brands as well. They're used to showing people sharing the drinks, how it's a social occasion, people together. So
and my girlfriend Alice and my neighbours, they featured in many videos that I'd be like, look, I need a person that's
just
here,
there.
that is like, not just not specifically legally, but like, you know, like I'm not breaking any rules here because everything's here and there's no, you know, there's no issue. So I was just using anyone I could to like make basically like video content for brands, but done at home. So
Brilliant.
for a long time, it was that. And then when it was like you could, you know, you could leave the almost the compound, let's call it. That felt very weird to me because I was always like, right, okay, sit down, we're on the sofa, this is the scene, it's fine, you're at home, you're drinking this, don't worry about it, we're in the bubble, everyone's in this bubble, you know, the COVID bubble, so it's fine. And then suddenly you could go off and, but to be honest with you, it took quite a long time to get to that. Because even last summer 2021, I was doing a shoot in Ibiza and it was like very touch and go whether we were allowed to, you know, going to be allowed to go. The traffic light system of the countries kept changing. If one person gets COVID, you can't do it. It's, you know, that's stressful. Whereas now you're just like,
yeah, world's
what freedom looks like. So in terms of, I know I'm not going to speak too much about what freedom looks like for an individual, but for as a business, I feel great now because I'm like, oh, my ideas or creative ideas or, you know, concepts that I try and do with clients are a lot easier to execute because you're not thinking, right, well, we can only hang out in groups of 6, so we can't feature that. And do they live together? What's going on here? You know, whereas now it's like, yeah, just go and do what you like. So I'm very happy now.
Yeah, it's happened the right way around. So fast forward 2 years then, you're here to tell the story, which is great. And how many are in your team around you?
So really, it's funny really, because I'm actually a solopreneur, but I have a network. My network, as in the people who do stuff for me. I'm a big freelancer fan personally, because I think it's good. I think variety is the spice of life, and I also think that it's good when you know people, which I do on both the visual side and the audio side, and I can be like, right, okay, this is a project. We can, you know, who's going to be right for this, and people aren't there, you know, waiting or relying on work because basically they're doing other things as well. So, you know, that's the structure right now. It's been like that for 2 years. So I've got people who, you know, help, you know, in the shooting side, people help with the audio, as in the music. You know, I can do both. I'm kind of like, but I am the only one employee. So I'm a proud entrepreneur, solopreneur. However, you know, I wouldn't be able to do some of the things that we've done in the last 2 years without the help of other people.
Extended team. Yeah, no, and actually you can't, you know, you've built up those relationships, they're your contact, you know what those skill sets are, that is your team, whether you employ them or not, that is your team. And I think there's absolutely value in what you've said of getting the absolute best person for that particular job.
Yeah, I think in the future, you know, these are the things people talk about growth and scaling up and what does that mean, and you know, look, you know, I really enjoy doing the work, and I spoke to a lot of, you know, I'll say a lot, I spoke to people who scaled up creative companies, and they say that they've all say, you know, similar things where like when you grow up, you know, scale up and employ people, then that chips away at the actual you doing the work, even not all of it, you know, but some of it. And then basically there's managing of, you know, people and things rather than actually doing the work. So
yeah, you'd be doing the HR, the accounts,
exactly. Well, right now, I mean, I do everything. But I have other people to do things.
A lot less full-time problems.
Yes, but that's why I love the network, or people use the word collective or whatever, you know, community. I enjoy having that because, as you rightly said, and I completely agree with, it's about finding the best person for that specific job. You know, you don't, if they're there full time, I think eventually it will be that. But right now, I'm happy with this kind of like almost quite fluid arrangement that I have with the kind of people who, and then they are part of the team. They're just not officially employee part of the team.
Sounds great. And actually, sounds like you didn't have any problem in attracting brands, clients to work with you from the start. What's your sort of new business strategy, if you like, or is it built through recommendations? How are people finding you now?
I mean, I liken this new business concept to being in a band. I've been in many bands. I've never played on the pyramid stage of Glastonbury. sadly. However, being in a band, it's similar thing where like if basically someone enables that band or recommends that band or gives that band, this is the specific word, hype, then other people will go, oh right, okay. But they're just, and it's the same with if you have a roster or even one client, that's what Sipsmith was for me. It was like, oh, all right, okay, I trust you like more from the off because I've seen that. So
yes.
And obviously the more it's the same for any business, right? It's the more you add to that, the more trust and more hype. The word hype I use a lot becomes, it grows, and then it's a lot easier to attract clients. People come to you more at first. No one comes to you because they don't know you exist.
Yeah, and I think it's also your own confidence, isn't it? In the beginning.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I'm a sociable person. I'm pretty confident. Everyone's insecure, really, but it's like I enjoy meeting people. I've always enjoyed meeting people, and I guess throughout my life, certainly working life, that's what my life's been. Yeah. So I hated COVID because I couldn't meet people, and I don't like being on Zoom calls really. I don't really. It's not conducive to meeting people. So I like to meet people. I like to be around them. I like to get to know them. So because I have a real desire and thirst to do that, I think it serves me well as a business owner or someone who runs a business, because I'm very determined to meet people, and so also like you do business secondary to getting on with someone, in my opinion. And when you get on with someone, it's a lot easier to do business with them, because you're not going let's do business together, and it's like, well, we don't know anything about each other. Whereas when you socialize and get to know people, I find that the right conversations happen, the right calls happen, and then the right work happens. And that by being sociable, you will, by its very nature, you will get more work out of it, because people know who you are, you listen to them, you have a kind of, you get on common ground, and it's not like it's not manipulative, it's just being friendly. And actually I find that helps a hell of a lot, and being part of some good kind of networking marketing groups that I'm part of, which I it's like gold, really. It's basically, how can you do business with people that you don't know? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think actually it's a two-way process as well, isn't it? Whilst they're interviewing you, you're checking them out to see if they're the right fit for you, I guess, as well. Yeah. So what is there a particular part of the process then, from when you onboard a client, from once they've said yes, they've given you that creative brief, you're away to delivering the finished production, which part of the process excites you most?
To be honest with you, Jane, I love the bit where you come up with the idea and then the execution of it. Like that if everything else I do enjoy, but I don't enjoy as much as that, because you're basically thinking, right, what's the idea? They buy into it, or the way you've thought it out anyway, and then you create it, and then that's the best bit. Everything else comes like a little bit less for me.
Yeah.
The feeling of onboarding a new client is really good, but I just enjoy doing the work.
You can tell, and it comes across, and that'll be absolutely what people buy into.
I like making things. It sounds very basic, like a small child, but I do I just like making things. Like, and I say this to a lot of people, like, I don't really mind how small or big a client is. Yeah. Because to be honest with you, like, I love to meet people. I like variety. So, I don't just want to work in one sector or one industry, because I don't, people think, oh, you need to focus on that. It's like, I don't want to just, as much as I love Sipsmith, I love other drinks clients, I don't want to just make drinks videos. It's not, it becomes autopilot more, the more you do it. I like being like, okay, right, that's pets. That's pets, we're talking about pets now, and you think, right, okay, what's that? And I just think I love using one's creative mind to come up with something, and it can be any subject matter, because I'm genuinely interested in it, and I'm interested in people. And so definitely the doing of the work And then, to be honest, once a project's done, I feel it's more relieved, as in like a nice,
Yeah.
not, I'm not ecstatic, but I'm not like relieved, like, oh, that was terrible. But I'm sure maybe you get this, Jane, where you're just like, oh, calm. The calm sets in.
I'd imagine there's a stage in the process where you think, I just can't visualize this yet. I know I'm going to get there, but I can't visualize it yet. What am I going to deliver? I'm on a time scale. Where's it going? So it's almost like hallelujah moment, isn't it? When it all.
I think the initial phase is different with every client or project. That's why I kind of enjoy it, because some people have got very fixed ideas on what they want something to look like, or I mean, the thing I add in is what do you want it to sound like, which kind of throws people a little bit. But anyway, it's an important part of the process for me. But you know, what do they want it to look like, sound like? What do they want it to be? Some people have a very clear idea, and you have to. It's very rigid, and you're like, okay, right, we'll do it. And then other people have got no idea, and you're a bit like, okay. And I used to think that was great, but then actually more recently, because they have no idea, you're basically going, okay, this is what's in my head. I think we should do this. And then if they don't necessarily agree with it, you've already done all this work. Do you see what I mean? It can be a bit like, and even though I've set out what I believe I've told them what I'm going to do, they still go, well, that's because it's in your head.
I can't visualize it.
And then when you do it, they're like, oh no, maybe not that. And you're like, okay, right.
Yeah. So you do have some ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like you do have an opinion, which is fine, but you know, and then you know, it's all about managing each project, you know, and I kind of, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on your toes.
Well, it sounds like work is very much your hobby, but outside of work, do you have any free time to do anything other than work? What do you do to keep yourself sane?
I'm a very active person, Jane. I need the outdoors. I need to be active. Like I don't feel right if I don't exercise. I don't feel right in my head, let alone my body. Like more my head. It's like I need to, and I actually find this is kind of a segue, but the more active I am, the better the ideas I get. So I'm very much if I go running or I go, you know, into, I don't know, the wild, let's call it, I'll just think of loads of things that I wouldn't have thought about if I was at home or at the office or etc. etc. So for me, it's a double thing really, where I go, right, I'm being good to myself, to my mind and my body, obviously, but then I'm also coming up with ideas. So you have to use that time, like, and just, for me, it's being out there, just doing things, you know. It's like that is my favorite thing to do, just be outdoors and, you know, run, cycle. I'm a big cyclist. I mean, I'm not going to list everything I like, but you know, basically, if I had to sum it up, I'm an active person, and if I don't do that, I start to not feel quite right in myself. So
I agree, and actually, even within our team here, we even just encourage, just get out at lunchtime, just leave your desk, just have a break. If possible, don't eat at your desk. I think the more busy you are, the more important it is that you do force yourself to take that break, have that time. I'm a runner, so yeah, feel your pain in that area. But yeah, no, absolutely. And I found even from when I was doing my degree that just having that focus of running gives you such clarity and helps you come back and refreshed and come up with something that you wouldn't have done if you'd been sat there trying to solve a problem.
This might be a more, you know, philosophical part of it, but I think it's so important for me, and you know, for running a business, which is, I know people say, you know, take a break and do this. Now, taking a break for me is actually going off and doing something, not like, you know, like it comes down to when do you feel rested or restful? And for me, rested is like go and do something else that's got nothing to do with, you know, the actual running of a business or doing the work. And I can be even more active and feel more rested than if sleep is different to bit resting, in my opinion. Like you rest anyway, but like I think some people think I'm just going to go and, you know, sit on a beach, or that won't work for me.
No,
I'm just like, I need to do things, like, and people go, just stay still, and I'm like, I'm more still when I'm doing this. So I
can definitely relate to you there. I do my friends' head in on a holiday. They're like, "Will you just sit and chill?" I'm like, "It's not really me."
No, it's. But I agree. It's like I don't want to sitting by the pool, sitting by the beach. I'm not saying I can't do it, but I'll do it for like a couple of hours, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
right, let's go over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you not want to
Absolutely.
rest for me is being active, and it's exploring things and being like, oh right, I'll go and talk to that person, and look, you can't help who you are.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if anyone's watching or listening to this today and they're thinking, this is absolutely where I want to be, this is an industry that inspires me, excites me, what advice would you give them to get into video?
That's a really interesting question, Jane. I'm a big believer, and I want to be more, active and helpful in this area of like helping young creatives, because I know how hard it is to make something happen in that world. Because I don't think you need to be paid to be creative. I'm not saying you shouldn't be paid, but I'm saying you don't need to be paid to be creative. And there's, I think people think I haven't got a job, so I'm not, maybe not doing so well, so I'm not that creative. Whereas really it's like, I think you have to back yourself and almost make things, like whatever your creativity is. I mean, mine happens to be, I don't know, visual and sound. So I like filming things. I also like taking pictures, but I also like making music, and that's my area of creativity. I'm a terrible painter. I can't draw. Loads of stuff I can't do, but I know people can. And I think that, like, you don't always have to give someone to give you a job, just to be good at that. And that's but I know it's difficult because people are like, oh, here's my CV. And the advice I would always give is, like, if you really want to get someone's attention, don't ask for it. So, and this is in the creative world, I would say. I'm specifically talking about that, although it could work in other ways. Just get creative with how you get their attention. And I guarantee, if I was going to employ someone and someone did that to me, I would be like, right, I'm listening.
Yeah.
It's basically,
and actually I think that relates to any aspect of our industry, really, doesn't it? If you want to get into writing, then start writing for yourself, or start commenting on things. Like, I absolutely agree with that. Don't sit and wait for someone to give you that opportunity. Make those opportunities.
It is hard when you don't have the job that you want.
And
I think that's why I'm trying to say, I started by saying about helping young people in that way, because I just think there's some brilliant people out there, brilliant young people, really creative, but they may be feeling like they're not getting the opportunity that they want. And I think that's why I mentioned I agree with you. Just do it, and don't think that you need to be paid before it becomes valid, or but then also, if you want to get people's attention, you can, but don't ask for it. Because I'm not saying.
Also, if you were offered the opportunity of any kind of work placement, in my experience, take it, go for it. Don't obviously let people take advantage of you and do it for too long, but you've got to start somewhere.
I know what I mean. I think when I say don't ask for it, what I mean is, like, you should always ask the question. At the very least, ask the question. You should always get in touch with people. You never know. But also, like, I just mean, if that doesn't work sometimes, I think you can get people's attention by doing something that's stands out a little bit. And actually, that's something, a quality that, as someone who used to be a journalist, that's now not a journalist, but a business owner of a creative company, that works for me. Like, if someone was like, I'm trying to get your attention, I'd be like, okay, wow, that's great. I'm not, and that's just how I would see it. So I think don't overthink things. Just do them. Even if so many creatives have, like, I mean, I think I saw something the other day. It was about someone who wanted to work at Pixar about 20 years ago, and there's a letter, and he's like being rejected. Anyway, he's been like a driving force between behind the new Buzz Lightyear film, which is Pixar. You just think, it's not easy. It's just because you get rejected once doesn't mean you should stop. And
so not now, not ever. So carry on. Definitely. So what's next for Creative AF?
I'm in a bit of a, like, as I said, it's in a bit of a good spot at the moment. 2022 feels like a year of, not just for me, for everyone. For people feel like they're living their lives again. you know, and actually business is good for a lot of people that I speak to. It's great. I think people are more free to kind of spend the money on these creative projects again, which is great. So I'm just really enjoying it. Like I want to, you know, you always want to grow, but I really enjoy doing the work. So I'm basically just enjoying what comes my way, what comes our way at the moment, and you know, just going to really enjoy the creative, and you know, from smaller companies to bigger ones.
Yeah,
you know, I'm more than happy to speak to anyone who
fantastic.
really wants to buy into this kind of you know, way of doing things, which is, you know, telling stories through video, but also through sound. And I just really enjoy, basically I really enjoyed the work that I do. So I'm, you know, I feel like I'm in a good place.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So again, if people are watching and listening, where can they find out about your work? How can they connect with you? How can they follow, get in touch?
Okay, so you know, the website is www.creativeaf.co. That's not .com and it's not .co.uk, it's .co. So that's www.creativeaf.co. I'm very prominent personally on LinkedIn. So I you know, I'm on it every day. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great community. So, you know, if you want to look for me, my name's Adam Faulkner, if you want to connect with me on there. And yeah, you know, that's probably the best way. And yeah, you know, if you want to get in touch, talk about some creative, or even just get in touch, you know, I'm more than happy to speak to people.
Fantastic. Well, it's been absolutely fascinating speaking to you. I feel inspired by listening to you and excited for you. And thank you very much for taking the time out of your hectic day to stand still and talk to me. I appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
No worries, Jane. Thanks so much.
Thank you.